sure that I don't start until, okay, there we go. It should be recording now. Okay. Okay, awesome guys. So let me go ahead and start over again. So thank you all so much for stopping by here today. My name is Mr. Gonzalez. Of course, I'm going to be your faculty instructor for Government 2305 and Government 2306, federal government and Texas government here. So what we're going to be going over here tonight is we're going to be going over the main points of the syllabus. I know you all have already had a chance to go through the syllabus because you all did the syllabus acknowledgement that was due on Tuesday. And I am sorry that I had to have that assignment due so early in the week. Normally, I have assignments due either toward, later in the week, usually on Sundays, or in the case of the discussions, we have the two due dates, which I'll go over that as well here. But because I had to turn in that starfish data yesterday, even though the census day is today, I don't know why they wouldn't just have it due on the census day, but I don't work in the starfish department. Um, and I don't think they want my opinion on that, but anyway, it is what it is. But so they said I have to turn it in Wednesday at 3 p.m. If anyone doesn't believe me, I'll show you all the email. Like, like they send us they send us so many emails. Um, yeah, so I had to submit that yesterday. So that's why I had that syllabus acknowledgement due on Tuesday, which is a very easy assignment. And you all got a good grade on it, provided that you did it. You just, type in that you've read the syllabus, you understand, and you'll abide by it, all that stuff. Every professor does that now. Even my own professors for graduate school, they have those. It's basically like a contract, so to speak, to where that you're going to follow the syllabus and all that stuff. Now, of course, I do understand if like special circumstances come up, and of course, I'm here to help you all out as best as possible. Um, but yeah, that's why we have that. So it was a really easy assignment because, as I also mentioned in the announcement, that in online classes, the way that attendance is measured is through the completion of assignments. So we did need to have an assignment due before the starfish data needed to be turned in. So that's why I had that due. So, but thankfully, I think mostly everyone was able to complete that. Um, so yeah, so just to kind of reiterate what we're going to go over tonight, like I said, we're going to go over the syllabus, like the key points, the really important stuff, like what's due, what is it that has to be completed. We'll also go over some troubleshooting questions in regards to this. This would be more so for like Texas government, because I know there's been some emails, some Blackboard messages about the way the send gauge works. So I can walk you all through that as well if anyone needs to see that as well. And then probably the last thing, well, two more things also. I'm also going to show you all the class layout to show you all where everything is. Um, I've been teaching here at STC for 9 years already. This is going to start my ninth year, and so I've taken a lot of time to try to create a layout that is easy to navigate and is as I don't want to say is not confusing because I mean I try my best to make it as straightforward as possible, but I could see how some people might still be confused about some items within the class. But I will definitely clear some of that or try to clear some of that up here tonight. But if there's any other questions you all might have, you are more than welcome to reach out to me and discuss those with me, so we can get that cleared away. I know there's been a lot of there's been a lot of first day questions, and so I've tried my best to try to answer those questions. Of course, that's why you all saw that I've posted I think like 4 announcements already. Like I don't normally post that many announcements like in a week. Although also we have to keep in mind that because it's summer session, it's a very fast-paced course. I mean, I'm sure you all have you all taken summer classes before? You all know how that is, right? That because the class is only for 5 weeks, it's like we have to cover several chapters per week because there's just not enough time. And so we have to do a unit per week. And then the last week is to work on like your final project and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the way it'll work is that you'll have to read, multiple chapters per week only because the semester is only 5 weeks long. One of my favorite professors, he's been retired for about 10 years already. His name is Dr. William Turk. He was a political science slash public administration professor at UTRGV. Uh, Probably my second favorite professor after Dr. Jerry Thompson, who is the gentleman in my picture. If any of y'all wondering who that is, that's I'm standing next to Dr. Jerry Thompson, Regents Professor of History at Texas A&M International University, and probably one of the leading one of the leading historians when it comes to Texas history. He's written a ton of books, especially South Texas history. He's got an interesting book about Santos Benavides, and his and just to mention, was the highest ranking Latino Confederate soldier or officer in the Civil War, and of course, Texas was on the side of the Confederacy. So, but that's him. So, I also took a World War II class with him recently, and I'm signed up for another class with him in the fall. I'm surprised he hasn't. Of course, I haven't talked to him about this because it's real personal. Like, uh, I'm interested to see like how long he's going to keep going and stuff like that. Let's see. His name is Dr. Jerry Thompson. Jacqueline, to answer your question, you can look him up. He actually has his own Wikipedia page. So I've always said like, you you know you're famous when you get a Wikipedia article. But anyway, but to go back to my original point, my other professor, Dr. William Turk, um, he said, I'll never forget this. When I took a summer class with him many years ago, he said that the good thing about the summer semester is that it's 5 weeks long. The bad thing about the summer semester is that it's 5 weeks long. So I always thought that was just so funny because it's true, right? It's like a double-edged sword. Where like, yes, you get everything done quickly, but it's also very easy to fall behind. So that's why, of course, and I appreciate that we're here in this meeting because I know that you all are here because you all want to do as well as you can, especially considering that this is a very fast-paced 5 week course. So again, I will definitely, do my best, to help you all out, as we progress through the course here. But anyway, okay, enough with the introduction. So let's go ahead and shift gears here and let's go to the syllabus first. Okay, well, before we do that, does anyone have any questions so far? Is there anything that needs to be answered or um okay, let's see. Angel's typing here. That's a new free feature. It actually shows when someone's typing. Okay, we've also got other, okay, Jorge says not at the moment. Angel is still typing here. Um, yeah, if there's any like really pressing questions, I can definitely answer them right now. But if not, okay, everyone's fine. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the syllabus here. Now, granted, we're not going to cover the entire syllabus because there's a lot of information there that is important, but you can kind of read on your own. So mostly what we're going to go over is the like what is expected of you all, like what are the assignments and all that stuff. That's mostly what we're going to go through. I mean, isn't that what everyone does whenever you all get like a syllabus? Isn't that the first thing that everyone goes to? I do it myself as well. The first thing I look at is, okay, what do I have to do? How am I going to get graded? What are the assignments that I have to do? Um, let's see. Let me go ahead and okay, let me switch over here. Okay. Okay, everyone. All right. So you all should be able to see the syllabus here, right? Okay, so I'm here on federal government. Now let me ask you, okay, now let me do a quick check here. So it's showing federal government. If I switch over to Texas here, do you all see Texas right now? Could somebody tell me that you all see that? Because I need to make sure that when I switch over to the different tabs that it doesn't stay on the original tab that I had clicked on. So is it showing Texas or is it still showing federal? Could someone tell me?
It's showing Texas.
Okay, it's showing Texas. Okay, perfect. All right, good. So then if I go here, it's showing the blackboard, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Okay, so I can switch between the different tabs. Okay, I just want to make sure because sometimes I've had situations where like I'm on one tab and then I went to another, but then it stayed on that tab. Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for confirming that. Okay, so I'll be going back and forth there because I know there's se there's several. Well, let me ask you this question: are there some federal students and some Texas students? Because if there's none of the others, well, I guess I still have to cover it because for the students who aren't here, so that's fine. We'll just do both of them. So okay, so I'll be switching back and forth here between the different syllabus. But again, as you're going to see here, most of the information is pretty much the same here. So if we start with federal, let's go through, of course, we'll go through the instructor information first, and then we'll kind of go through some of like the course learning outcomes and stuff like that. But anyway, so this is my contact information. Again, my email, of course, is very easy to remember because there is no numbers or anything like that. Oh, one more question I also wanted to ask you all. So I know since we kind of started a little bit later because we were waiting on more students, if you all have to leave at 8, that's fine. But this might take a little bit long. Like I don't think we're gonna finish at 8. If that's fine with you all, I'd like to kind of continue to make sure that we get everything covered that I wanted to tonight. But if you all have to leave at 8, that's fine. But if anyone wants to stay, you're more than welcome to. But I'm probably gonna have to go longer than I already know I'm not gonna finish this in 30 minutes. So we might go to maybe like about 8:30. So, but yeah, but if you need to leave at 8, that's totally understandable. Okay, so then this is my email, very easy to remember, aagonzalez@souttexcollege.edu. Yes, of course, I have my office and my phone number, but because I'm teaching only online in the summer, I'm not really going to be there. I don't foresee myself being there. I am still here in the Valley. Um, but I might, I might go out of town somewhere. I haven't planned anything. I've got a lot of things I have to do here, but just to let y'all know that email is definitely the best way to get a hold of me. Um, there's also, of course, the Blackboard messaging. Now, you all did see the announcement that I posted about the Blackboard messaging, correct? Um, so again, this is not meant to like get mad at everyone or anything like that, but I did need to comment that I am still getting Blackboard messages and people are still not clicking on the send an email copy to recipients here. So does anyone need for me to go over that? Like, is anyone having trouble in terms of how to do that? Like where you click on the okay. Uh yes, Satrina, go ahead. Were you gonna say something or no? Or were you responding to what I said? Like that you were needing assistance with that or okay, hold on. Because I can't really see the let me stop sharing because I can't really see the chat here. Resp okay, okay, let me go back here. So okay, okay, that's fine. Let me just go ahead and show it really quickly. Okay, let me go back to the share screen here. Let me just show it. Okay. Or let me go over here. Okay, let me just get that set up here. Okay, all right. Okay, let me share that with you. Okay. Okay, we'll take some time to go over that right now here. Okay. Okay, all right, guys. Okay, so as is mentioned in the syllabus, as well as also in the first announcement, and also a reminder in another announcement, there is a specific procedure that is in place when it comes to Blackboard messaging. Um, what the procedure is where, so when you enter in who you're going to send the message to, and I think your screen might look a little bit different because since I'm viewing it like as an instructor, so I think that your setup might look different than this. But anyway, but what I do know for sure is that there is this option down here. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about here. So when you compose your message to whoever it is you're sending it to, what you have to do is you have to click on this where it says send an email copy to recipients. Okay. Because when you do this and then you can then send your message, of course, obviously there's nothing there. So, and I haven't put anyone to send it to, but it's, of course, it's going to look different when you decide, when you send your message. But anyway, so once you've already selected who you're sending it to, you've written out your message, and then you click on this, then it should allow for you to send. So what happens then is that when you send that, then I get an email in my STC email that notifies me that a Blackboard message has been sent. Now, in the syllabus, as well, we've already got. I've already mentioned it before in the announcement, so I don't have to show you to you all in the syllabus. But in the syllabus, if you all would like to go and look, you'll see that I explained a little bit also in the announcement in terms of why I have this procedure, because I've explained before that in semesters past, I've had situations where Blackboard messages have disappeared on me, where because the system does glitch out, unfortunately. Blackboard is not, it's not my favorite of the LMSs. LMS stands for Learning Management System. That's basically what Blackboard is. It's the system that we use to, to conduct our classes in terms of the resources and all the assignments are on there. So there's different LMSs, like there's one called Canvas, there's another one called DTL. I know about this because I've taught at other colleges and universities that use different types of these LMSs. I think Blackboard is probably the most popular one, but it's not my favorite. I think Canvas is my favorite, then it's Blackboard, and then DTL. But anyway, but that's not a part. So the point is that in because one thing I like about Canvas is that in Canvas, uh, messages sent within the LMS, I can respond to them via my email. Now I can't do that in Blackboard. I cannot that email that this would send. I cannot then go and respond in my email. I wish we could. Like in Canvas, you can. And I've been telling Blackboard that they need to do that. They need to allow for us to be able to respond to Blackboard messages from our email. but for whatever reason, they still haven't done that, or I don't even know if they're going to do that. But anyway, so this is the next best thing. So if you click on this, then I get that email, and so then I'm going to get that email notification telling me that a message has been sent. So again, so there's several reasons for why I do this. Like I said, because Blackboard has glitched on me to where messages will disappear. I don't want for students to then complain, hey, Mr. Gonzalez did not respond to my message. Okay, so that clears up that because now there is going to be proof in my email that a Blackboard message was sent. So I need that proof. So that's why I need for y'all to click on this and then I get that email. Another good reason for this is because, as I was also mentioning in the announcement, let's say that I'm working on something and then you send a Blackboard message, but Blackboard doesn't give me any type of audio notification that a Blackboard message was sent. So I could be there for hours and then you sent a message like hours ago, but there's no way for me to know that because there's nothing here in Blackboard that says, hey, like a message was sent. Like I have to go all the way to the home page. And so I'm not going to know to answer the message because I didn't get any notification. Now in my email, I do get notifications, right? Like I get where it turns red right here and then I get the little alert, that little ding sound. But what I'm trying to say is the Blackboard doesn't have any of that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make these messages look more and more like email so that way I can respond quicker and I have record just like in an email, right? Because in email, that's a paper trail for communication. And that's why I prefer email above anything else, because it provides that paper trail. I get those audio cues as opposed to Blackboard messaging where it could disappear on me and I don't know where it went, and then I don't even get notifications. I mean, personally, um, like I was saying also, I mean, I don't, and again, I'm not trying to be negative here, but I also don't necessarily think that it's I don't necessarily believe that it's necessary for professors to be checking multiple forms of communication. Like there's also that Pronto app. Like, you know, it should just be like either email or phone calls. Like I don't agree with having to check multiple forms because that's just very confusing, and it's easy for communication to get lost and misplaced when you have to be responsible for three or four forms of communication. So that's why if it was me personally, I would just say, just email. But I know that students do like using Blackboard messages because there are benefits for students to use Blackboard messaging because you don't have to go and log into an email. So I'm trying to work with you all to where you can still send those Blackboard messages, but you have to click on this so that way I will have notification that it's been sent, and that way I can respond quicker. And that way it's also going to that email in my email, saying the Blackboard message was sent is also going to be housed there. So that's pretty much how to do it. So you see, it's very easy. All you have to do is just click that. And then once you compose your message and then you send it, I get that email and then I'll be able to respond quickly because I do have my email open whenever I'm doing work here, right? Okay, so does anyone have any questions on how that works? Because that's basically what the requirement is, right? So remember that if you're going to use Blackboard messaging, you have to click on that box because if you do not, then I'm not going to get a notification and I'm not going to be able to respond to your message because you did not follow that procedure. So does that make sense in terms of what the procedure is? And I understand that, look, the first day, I understand people didn't really know, they didn't really, even though it is on the syllabus and I did post an announcement on that, I do understand how people could miss that. But so moving forward, just make sure that you click on that so that way I can then respond. Because if you don't click on it, I'm not going to respond because I am explaining to you all that is the rule. Okay. And as an instructor, I have the academic freedom right to set what rules I can set in my classroom, right? In my class. So, doesn't matter if maybe no one else in STC it has this requirement. I've explained why I have this requirement. I'm not just doing it just to add work or to be, to be overly, I don't know what the word would be. But again, I've explained to you all why I have this requirement, right? I'm not just doing it just to be mean or anything like that. I have very real logistical reasons for why I have this requirement. So please make sure that you all, adhere to that. And then, and that's, yeah. So that's basically what I wanted to explain first, yeah. So does anyone have any questions on that? Does that make sense? Oh, let me also say one more thing. So if you do send a message and you don't get a response, it's probably because you didn't follow through on that procedure. So make sure that you do follow that procedure. And as I've also said, if you do not want to, if that's too much, then just email me. You can also do that as well. So, but if you are going to use Blackboard messaging, make sure that you do adhere to that requirement. So, does anyone have any questions on that? Does that make sense? That's pretty straightforward, right? Let's see. Emma's typing something. Let's see. Okay, sounds good, everyone. Okay, yeah. Yes, if I sound a little bit animated about this, it's because the reason why I might be a little bit annoyed is because it's really not that hard to do, and unfortunately, students have not been doing it. So you see how like that can be a little bit that can be a little bit frustrating. So I've put that in there. So now that everyone should know how that works, so we shouldn't have any more issues with that. Okay, so and like I said, I've explained in great detail why it is important to me. So please also respect that. Hey, if it's important to the professor, then you know what it's probably important. So okay, all right. So let's not dwell on that anymore. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and move forward here. Let's go back to the let's go back here. Okay, let's go back here. Okay. Okay, all right. So yeah, so that's the contact information. Okay, so let's see. Okay, well, when it comes to like course learning outcomes and the course description, yeah, I guess we can go over that for both federal and Texas here. So let's start with federal first. Okay. So the course description is basically like what you would, if you could sum up this class in one sentence, that's basically what it'd be. So this course for federal government covers the origin, development of the U.S. Constitution, structure, and powers of the national government, including the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, federalism, political participation, the national election process, public policy, civil liberties, and civil rights. So if you are not familiar with these concepts, or maybe you're familiar with some of them, that's okay, because that's why you're here in this class, right? By the 4th of July weekend, you should be able to have a good understanding of all of these different concepts, right? So yes, and then in this class, we're going to be going over all of these, specific concepts within the different chapter modules here, right? Um, so yeah, and then moving on over here to Texas with the course description, you're going to see it's similar, but there are a few differences, right? So this course covers the origin and development of the Texas Constitution, structure and powers of state and local government, federalism and intergovernmental relations, political participation in the election process, public policy, and the political culture of Texas. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to Texas government, I do prefer for students to take federal government first, even though I know that that's not a requirement. I have had situations where students will take Texas first. But the reason why I prefer for students to do federal first is because, yes, you don't technically have to have taken federal first before Texas, but if you take Texas government after you take federal government, a lot of these key concepts that we're going to go over in Texas government are going to be review for you as opposed to seeing it for the first time. Because the point of Texas government, if I could kind of sum up Texas government myself, is that it's basically a lot of comparing and contrasting between how the federal government operates and then how state government operates, and particularly Texas, and also those intergovernmental relationships, as it mentions here, right? That how does Texas interact not just with the federal government, but also with fellow states within the United States, right? So that's also a big point that we're going to see within Texas government, right? And also, of course, kind of like I said, comparing and contrasting, the different branches of government within Texas and the federal government, because Texas has the same branches that we have at the national level, right? Texas has a legislative, executive, and judicial branch, but there are some key differences. Like one major key difference is what we call the plural executive in Texas, where um, so yeah, for those of y'all who are taking the Texas government class, that is going to be extremely important. I would probably say that's probably the most important concept within Texas government is the plural executive, because it's a very different it's a very different method of how our state executive branch operates when compared to the federal government. So let me kind of just explain what the difference is. So at the federal level within the executive branch, when you have the president of the United States, the president of the United States is basically in charge of, basically is in charge of the full executive branch, so to speak, right? Um, and what's also interesting is that the executive branch is by far the largest of the three branches. I mean, we're also dealing right now with a lot of constitutional issues when it comes to the war with Iran, and how I was seeing that, the House passed, the resolution when it came to the War Powers Act. It's got to go to the Senate now, and so there's a lot of moving parts to all that right now, and so it's interesting, of course, to look at it from a constitutional standpoint in terms of looking at, hey, so what is the president's authority when it comes to war, and where does Congress fit in, right? Which again, we don't have time to go over that right now. That'll be something that for federal government you'll learn that when we get to like foreign policy at the end of the semester. But again, but going back to my point in terms of how that relates to Texas. So in Texas, obviously, of course, we have the governor, and then of course we have other positions, right? We have lieutenant governor, we've got comptroller of public accounts, we've got commissioner general land office. Those are also considered part of the Texas executive. But the major difference when we look at from between federal and Texas is that at the federal level, President Trump goes and he appoints his cabinet, right? He appoints Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio. Some of y'all might be familiar with some of those names. But Governor Greg Abbott does not appoint Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Instead, the Lieutenant Governor runs in an independent election and is not appointed by the governor. So you see how like that's a major difference? That's like if Marco Rubio had to run for his Secretary of State position at the federal level instead of being appointed by President Trump and then being confirmed by the Senate. So that's a major difference as opposed to what we see in Texas. So that's and that's one of the comparing and contrasting items that we're going to look at within Texas government. So just to kind of keep that in mind here. Um, okay, so let's kind of move forward here. Again, the course learning outcomes act just goes a little bit more into detail. The core objectives also are important for both federal and Texas. Um, but I don't want for y'all to get scared off about this, because if you kind of read this might look a little bit intimidating, like for critical thinking skills, like to include creative thinking, innovation, inquiry and analysis, evaluation and synthesis of information. Some of y'all might be thinking like, wow, like, how am I going to demonstrate that within our class? Well, you're going to demonstrate that within our class by reading and completing the assignments and engaging in our class, right? Because what we do in this class is going to be reflected through these types of skills and responsibilities, right? And the reason why we have these, of course, listed is that the state of Texas has made it mandatory to where it's not enough just for you all to take the class and to learn, concepts within the class, but you also have to demonstrate, uh, certain skills, so to speak, right? But as I mentioned here, um, you really can't do well in a college class without demonstrating critical thinking skills, right? You have to be a good critical thinker to be able to do well in college classes, as well as also to communicate well. And communication isn't just through, it's not just through speaking, right? It also involves written communication, right? And of course, in an online class, it's going to be mostly, if not all, written communication when it comes to like the discussions and things like that. And of course, we also have the personal and social responsibility, right? And you're going to be able to demonstrate that. You're going to be able to demonstrate that through the multiple assignments that we have, especially the final project assignment, which we will take some time to go over that here within our class. So again, don't really worry too much about all of this. You're going to be able to show that within in terms of the assignments that we do in the classroom. Okay, let's go through course requirements really quickly in terms of what you need, especially since this is an online class. So again, just the usual, right? I mean, I think some of y'all have taken online classes before, right? I don't think this is, unless maybe like you just graduated high school last week and now you're over here, maybe. Although there are some online high school classes. Well, I think one of the classes I'm teaching in the summer is a high school class. So there very well could be some high school students here. So welcome. But let's kind of go over this really quickly. So yeah, so if you haven't taken an online class, don't worry. I will help you all as best as possible. And I also understand how there can be trepidation when it comes to online classes. I know I've taken my fair share of online classes throughout my life, and the thing that I'm always worried about is, is there something that is missing here? Like, is there like some assignment buried somewhere deep within the class that I can't find, and then I'm going to get a zero on it, right? Some of y'all might feel the same way. Well, I can assure you all, and of course we're going to go over that in this meeting, and of course that's why y'all are here in this meeting. I'm going to go over with you all where everything is and what assignments you all have to complete here. So that way there's going to be no surprises when it comes to the assignments that need to be completed here. But first, of course, let's go through the course requirements here. So again, of course, you are going to need And when it comes to like to the technology requirements, of course, and of course we are going to be conducting our class through Blackboard, like I mentioned, the LMS, like I was talking before. I'm sorry, the major requirements, of course, that you'll need is pretty much just that you have a working computer and that you have reliable internet connection, as well as also a web camera here. That's going to be for the exams here. But yeah, pretty much that's pretty much what we need. And of course, a good working computer also. It doesn't necessarily have to be I know it says Windows 7 or something like that, but just make sure as long as it's working properly, you should be okay. All right. Okay, this is also another big one. So again, I'm not trying to be negative here in terms of like I was going over when it came to the Blackboard messages, but this is also another this is also something else that I've had to put in my syllabus recently because I've had a lot of students that have reached out to me. Uh, like I'll give you a lot of example. Like I've had like emails where students would be like, "Sir, like my computer doesn't turn on," and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I really don't know how to help you, like, because I'm not a computer programmer, right? Like I don't know how to. I have trouble troubleshooting my own computer. Uh, so I needed to put this in here because I needed to also kind of explain this a little bit. So, and of course, I'll also show you all where this is located within Blackboard here. So, it talks about how that if you do have a technology issue, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to contact the digital learning department first because they are the experts when it comes to diagnosing issues with your computer, troubleshooting your computer, right? I'm not a troubleshooter. I did not study computer science or computer maintenance or computer information systems in college, right? I mean, I took one class, but that was just because that was a requirement. But I have not. But you see, but what I'm trying to explain here is that that's not my area, right? Yes, I do have a pretty decent working knowledge when it comes to Blackboard, but I didn't go to school for that. Like I never took a class on Blackboard in college, right? That's something that the people who work in the digital learning department, that's what their specialty is, right? So yeah, my specialty, of course, as it says here, right? My expertise is in the social sciences. So what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that if you do have like an issue with your computer or something doesn't work, reach out to them first. Now, could it be something that I can help with? Absolutely. But what I need for you all to do is reach out to them first so that that way they can diagnose it. And if they tell you that it's something that I can help with, then you can contact me. Because if you just give me like this general, see how it's okay. So you see how that worked? You see how like there was that little alert with the inbox, and you see now there's the red dot right there. So, like I mentioned, if you send a Blackboard message, nothing shows up in Blackboard here. There is no alert, there is no sound that goes off, but for email there is. So that's why, again, just to reiterate, so you because you all saw that in real time, just that, and of course I'll check it once we're done here with the class meeting here. But just to let you all know that's another reason that's just to demonstrate why I want for y'all to do that procedure for the Blackboard messages, because when you send that, then I will get that notification. So when you send a Blackboard message and you click on the send an email copy to recipients, then that's what you all just saw. That's what's going to show up here. Okay, but does everyone understand in terms of what I'm saying? That like please reach out to them first, and let me show you all where you can do that here. So if you go to the My STC and then you click on here to student support, excuse me, then it should pop up here in terms of let's see, yeah, where you can submit a Blackboard support ticket here, right? And of course, this is their contact information, right? So this would be important for y'all to note down. Their phone number is 956-872-2598. Uh, funny story here. So what was it? Yeah, 6, no, it was just like 17. Oh my goodness. 17, 18, yeah, 17 years ago, I was working at STC in the security department, back before they even had the police. Like there was at one point there was just me, the director, Mr. Paul Varville, and this other gentleman. We were the only ones like that were actually working in the department because we contracted out with a private security company to do like all the security work. But then that's when STC was starting to they started to create their own in-house security, and now of course they have police now. But anyway, but the point is that what the reason why I'm mentioning this is because the old dispatch number used to be 872-2589. So we would get a lot of phone calls from students saying that they needed help with Blackboard because you see, like they flip the numbers, right? instead of you see how it's like they dialed 2589 instead of 2598. So we used to get all kinds of like Blackboard assist phone calls from students and all that stuff. So I think they changed the number. I think the dispatch number is different, but yeah, I just wanted to share that quick story with y'all. But yeah, so this is where you could submit a Blackboard ticket item. There's also good information on honor lock, which we'll also talk about that here in a bit. We do need to talk about the way that the exams are set up here. But yeah, just note that that if you do have issues like with Blackboard, just contact them first, and then they will then determine whether it's something that I need to do. And then, if that's the case, then of course, then I can be included in the discussion. But the reason why I'm asking you all to contact them first is because, like I said, I wouldn't know whether it's something they handle or, and things like that. So just make sure that let them be since they're the experts, let them be the ones to make that determination and stuff like that. Okay. So does everyone understand that? Just make sure that if you're having technical difficulties, please contact distance education first, because that's their job here. Okay. Netiquette is also really important, guys, especially like for the discussions. Just remember that, and again, we don't necessarily have to go over all this because you all are young adults and you all know how to conduct yourselves within our class. But yeah, for sure, like in discussions, guys, I do expect for y'all to, you know, I expect for y'all to be respectful of each other when it comes to these discussion topics. And some of these discussion topics uh, it can get pretty heated and stuff like that. I did have a situation a couple years ago where actually the STC police got involved because there were some students that were getting really really angry in the comment section, and so we need to not have that. Okay, you can be passionate about things, right? And it's okay to disagree. In fact, I welcome disagreements, right? Like I don't want just to have an echo chamber where everyone just agrees with each other, right? Because then we don't learn anything from anybody else, right? Each and every one of you all has unique perspectives on life, and I want for y'all to bring those to our class. And so I want to create a safe space within our class to where you all can be able to disagree and you all can be able to learn from each other. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the discussions here. I'm going to show you all one of the questions here. And then but yeah, just to keep in mind that when it comes to etiquette, just make sure that you all follow these procedures, especially like the do not write in all caps, because obviously that is that escalates situations. Other things like do not dominate discussion, give other students the opportunity to join in the discussion. But again, of course, these are things that I think you all are very much aware of, um and stuff like that. Yes, humor is acceptable, but try not to be like sarcastic, okay? Um, a good way to kind of summarize this is I'm sure you all see how social media is, right? Social media is really toxic. And well, it can be really toxic, right? It's not always toxic, right? But it can be very toxic. One example I saw today was so the Spurs lost last night, and then there was some really, really like some of these Spurs fans were like blaming the corgi. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the corgi. For those of y'all who might be keeping up, like there's the Air Corgi that predicted the Spurs beat the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. So the Air Corgi was actually there at the game yesterday, and then some fans were actually blaming the corgi, and I was like, what? Like it's just a dog. Like like a dog can't do anything wrong. Like dogs are so precious. I have dogs too, and I love them to death. So I just felt really bad that they were like saying things about the corgi, because it's not the corgi's fault, like so anyway, just giving you all a quick example that like social media can be really, really bad like that. So obviously we're not gonna have that here, right? Because this is a place of learning, this is an academic setting. So we're not gonna be going after people, right? We're going to be discussing important topics. And of course I'll explain to you all a little bit when we go over the discussions, like what I expect for y'all. So but yeah, just make sure that you all adhere to these standards and we should be okay. Okay, so we already talked about the protocol and all that stuff. We already went over that. Let's see, 5 minutes. I think I can still keep the meeting going, right? Or maybe we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I don't think it's gonna kick us out of the meeting. I don't think. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go. Okay, this is probably the most important thing that you all probably are most interested in, right? Is how are you going to be graded? Okay. Now, also keep in mind that if we go over to Texas government, it's basically going to be the same thing. Um, a lot of this is just copy paste. It's pretty much the same thing in terms of like the grade weights are the same. So that's why I just wanted to do one meeting instead of two. Um, and the types of assignments and the number of assignments are pretty much identical too. So in both federal and Texas, you're going to have 4 tests. You're also going to have quizzes. I think there's going to be a few more quizzes in federal than Texas because federal has a few more chapters. Um, there's also, I think there's the same number of discussions. There's 4 unit discussions. Well, there's 6 total because there's the introduction discussion and the syllabus acknowledgement. Those count as 2. And then there's the 4 because both federal and Texas have 4 units each. So the same unit discussions, and then of course we also have the signature assignment final project. So that's also the same in both classes here. Okay, so anyway, so let's go through the grade weight. So again, there's going to be 4 exams. Each unit is going to have its own exam. And okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and kind of go through the layout here since we're kind of on the subject here. Let's kind of go through the layout here. Okay. All right, so let me show this to y'all. Okay, so we're going to transition away from the syllabus and now we're going to go over the layout. Is that okay with y'all? We're going to do the layout. I want to do the layout now because I figure, okay, since we're talking about tests and quizzes and discussions, I figured, okay, let's just go ahead and go through the layout right now first. And, since that way it'll be more real for y'all. And let's see, I don't think that the meeting is gonna stop at 8, but just bear with me if it does, and then we'll see what we can figure out to kind of maybe I might have to create a new meeting or something like that, but hopefully it doesn't kick us out, but we'll see. Okay, so then let's see. Okay, let's go. Oh, and also, guys, if y'all have had a chance to go through the start here, it does give you all good information. It's got the syllabus here and other technical support like we were talking about with Blackboard. Oh, there's also, okay, I also need to go over this. So for the federal government, here is the ebook. So if you so this is for federal government. So in federal government, we do have the OpenStax book that we're using. Uh, that is this link right here. So I know there's the 3, that's the older edition. But we've now transitioned over to the newer edition. And let me also mention another thing about all this transitioning. So um give me just a moment here. We've been talking for almost an hour. So I also want to mention to y'all that so just be aware that in the summer classes is when I have time to go and make changes to my Blackboard classes here. So some of y'all may have noticed that I've been adding a bunch of stuff and adding, like some of y'all may have noticed that. And the reason for that is because in the summer, since I'm not teaching in person, that gives me a lot of extra time to be able to fine tune my classes. And so what I'm doing is I'm adding a bunch of stuff here. I'm adding the links for the because the 4th edition just came out. It just came out this year, so I haven't had a chance to update from the 3 to the 4. Now, I do need to mention that when it comes to textbook editions, they're not really all that different when it comes to like radical changes when it comes to the topics and what it is that we're learning. So let me make another sports reference here. Now, is anyone here, and we'll see if that's the case. Have any of y'all played like sports games like Madden or the I don't know what the new NBA game is. I'm more of a retro gamer, but I do know that Madden still exists, or anything like that, like the FIFA games and stuff like that. So you all probably noticed that every year there's a new edition, right? Because obviously there's new players change teams, players get new rookies get drafted. That's a very similar concept to how textbook editions change, where in the 4th edition, it's still the same concepts, right? Like we're still going to be covering, federalism, the Constitution, the presidency, Congress, the Supreme Court, and the other federal courts. Like that's all still going to be covered. The difference, though, is that we have new events, right? The 4th edition is going to have stuff on the 2024 presidential election that the 3rd edition did not, because the 3rd edition came out before this recent presidential election. I mean, look, there's not going to be anything in the 4th edition about the Iran war because it just happened a few months ago. So in the 5th edition, they'll have something on that. So that's really the only thing that changes, right? Is that new events, whether it's elections, I guess, new wars, new news events, new Supreme Court cases also is another big one, right? Because every year the Supreme Court comes up with new cases. So that's pretty much what changes. So I hadn't had a chance to go and add the new links and the new PowerPoints, but I'm in the process of doing that right now because, like I said, since it's the um since it's the since it's the summer and I have time to do that. So just be aware that I'm going to be adding all that stuff, right? But again, let me go ahead and click on the link so that way you all can see it. So if you click on the link here, the uh, this gives you the textbook, right? So you can go ahead and download it, right? That the OpenStax is free for you all because that's what OER stands for, Open Educational Resource. So for the federal government class, you do not have to purchase a book. Now, unfortunately for Texas, you do have to. So let me transition over to Texas now. So in Texas, let me show you all for the start here for the Texas government students. What you'll do is this gives you the ebook information. Let me see. Do I have Cengage open? Let me just double. Oh yeah, I do have Cengage open. Hold on. Let me stop my share and then I'm going to go to Cengage so I can show you really quickly. For this is for the Texas government students. Okay. So okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, let me go. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, because I've also had questions from Texas government students about the mind tap. So let me also answer this question here. Okay, so for the Texas government, this is what it should look like. So the way it works is, of course, you're going to have to go to Cengage and you're going to have to purchase the textbook from there. And then once you do, then they're going to get you have your access code that you use to redeem it. And then of course there's also that code. There's also the code here for. Let me go back to so there's also the course key. So you're going to enter that in so that way you can join up with the class. But the other question that has been asked of me is what do we do about the mind tap assignments? Okay, so let me just answer once and for all that the mind tap assignments are not for a grade. Okay, they are just for your practice. They're to help you for the quizzes. So you do not have to purchase the mind tap in order to complete the activities, right? These activities are just to um because these activities are just for you all's enrichment, right? This is just to help you all uh, in the class, right? But they're not for a grade. The only things, of course, that are going to be for a grade are what's located in Blackboard, which I'm going to show you all right now here. But for the Texas government students, once you purchase the ebook, once you get the mind tap here, then all you have to do is just read through the material, right? And of course, you can do the embedded quizzes, but again, that's just to help you all to study. It's not something that you all absolutely need. So does that make sense? For those of you who are in Texas government, that you just need to purchase the Mind Tap textbook just to access the textbook. Okay, that's all you need it for. And what's also going to be interesting is that I think starting next year, uh, Texas government is going to have an OER textbook. Like the political science department is actually working on that. So hopefully by next fall, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter to you all because you're all taking the class already, but hopefully by next fall, for those students, they will not have to purchase a textbook because they'll have an OER Texas government. But the reason why there hasn't been a Texas OER textbook is because Texas government is a very niche it's a very niche subject. Whereas American government, there's so many resources, there's so much information out there. Texas government is a little bit more obscure because it's very specialized, right? It's a government of a particular state. So that's why there hasn't been an OER for Texas government, but thankfully it looks like we're gonna finally get one here. So okay, all right. Let me go back over here now to the course layout. So I just want to share you all that for federal government, of course, also for Texas. Okay, so then what we do here is then we go to the units here. Okay, so let's go to unit one here for federal, and then I'll show you unit one for Texas here. Okay, so the unit, of course, is going to be comprised of these four chapters, right? American government, civic engagement, the Constitution and its origins, American federalism, and civil liberties. So remember, like I mentioned at the beginning of our meeting here today, that because the summer session is only 5 weeks long, you're going to have to do a unit per week. Okay, so you're going to have to study. You're going to have to read through four chapters. For federal government, you're going to have to read four chapters this week, and then for Texas government, let me move on over here for Texas government. For Texas government, you're going to have three chapters. Okay, so you're going to have the context of Texas politics, the constitutional setting, and the substance of justice. So you're going to have these three chapters for this week here, right? Okay. Now, let me go back over to federal here. So if I go to the first chapter here, American government and civic engagement. Okay, now this is another important topic that I have not mentioned yet in an announcement. I am going to post another announcement that goes over a lot of what we talked about here tonight for any students who weren't able to attend the meeting. So let me go over this important point that will be on that announcement. So notice how there's a lot of things here. Look at all these links. There's a bunch of links here. Do you all have to click on all these links? Do you have to go through every single one of them? Let me ask you all what you all think. Am I going to make you all have to click on every one of these? Some people might say this is overkill. So what do y'all think? Do you think that all of this is required to go through, or is it just here for you all to use and you all can pick and choose what you all want to use? Let me see what y'all think. Because this is a very important thing that I probably need to do a better job of explaining from the start. Because I have had, there was several years ago where I had students where they explained that they thought that because look, let me show you all another one. Like, let me go down here to additional resources here. Look at all the links here. Let me go to foreign policy. I've been working on this one the last week because I've just flooded it with a bunch of World War II stuff. Because I told you I recently took a World War II class, so you can imagine. Oh wait, no, that's domestic policy or that's social policy. Look at all this stuff from World War II. Look at this: United Nations, NATO, Declaration of Human Rights, roads to World War One, Russian Revolution. Do you all need to go through all this, or is this for you if you want to, like for you all to use to help you all with the chapter? Doolittle Raid, Battle of Midway. Probably don't have to know. You probably don't have to click on every single one of them, right? This is just there for you all if you want to. This is there for you all to help you all because American foreign policy is actually there's a lot to it. And I haven't even updated like when it comes to 9/11 yet. There's a lot of stuff I need to put about 9/11 as well. Okay, but yeah, just to answer the question here, the answer is no. You do not have to click on every single one of these items. Okay? There is a lot of helpful information here though. I would certainly recommend to go through the outline for sure. But again, we have the so we have the because you see, I also need to add the audiobooks here. Well, I did okay, I added that, but oh, that's right. I do need to add the new PowerPoint. So I'll be doing that here as well. So I do need to add the updated PowerPoint. So I'll be doing that. I'll still be doing that this week. But yeah, just note that so what I would for sure recommend is for sure go through the PowerPoint. Obviously, of course, read the chapter, go through the outline as well. And I would also recommend, I have lecture videos here myself that I've recorded. So yeah, that's another thing I'd also recommend for y'all to do is go through the lecture videos that I have. I also have other ones from other professors like Dr. Tom Patterson from Harvard, who is probably regarded as the top political science professor in the entire country. So I've got some good videos there. I've also got some on Crash Course Government and Politics. Chapter 2 also is going to have a bunch of Crash Course U.S. history. So yeah, you're going to see that there's a lot of history resources there. Now, my master's degree is in American political science and history, or just political science in general. So it's political science and history. So you can see that there's a bunch of history stuff in here too, right? Because again, I have a history background also. So I've actually taught history at other colleges as well. I used to teach at UTRGV. I used to be an adjunct instructor there. So I used to teach US History 1301 and 1302 over there. So yeah, so you could see that there's history uh, foot prints. Priscilla, go ahead. You had a question?
Yes, for the quizzes, I had a question, and I
Yes,
don't
go ahead.
know if you can tell us or not. On the quizzes, is it going to be like a multiple choice, or is it what are we looking at for the quizzes?
The quizzes are multiple choice. I believe there are 10 questions per quiz. And I think it's like 60 minutes to complete the quiz. So yeah, the quizzes are not all that lengthy. The exams are going to be lengthier, but you're going to have more time for that. But yes, the quizzes are 10 questions each. Or yeah, 10 questions, so 100 points. Yeah, 10 points per question. Does that clear that up?
Yes, and the exam, is it the same way or?
The exam is the same way, just that it's going to be a bit longer. But yes, the exam is going to be the same way. The only other difference also is that we're going to have the honor lock system. Are you familiar with, have you taken those tests with the honor lock before or no?
No.
Okay, I'll go over on unlock also when we get to the test here. But yes, we'll go through that after we finish through with going over what a typical chapter looks like, and then we'll cover the test right now. Okay, but good question, good question. Yeah, so like I said, yeah, you don't have to click on all this. This is just for you all's own resource. But yes, it's good that you bring that up because right at the end of each chapter is the chapter quiz. Okay, like I said, you don't have to click on all this. This is just extra. This is just for you all to use. But yeah, at the end of every chapter module is going to be the chapter quiz. Again, 60 minutes and 10 questions each. I'm sorry, yeah, 10 questions each. That equals 200 points here. Okay. So yeah. So then okay, let's also talk about we also talk about the discussion here as well. You know what? I need to link the discussion also here in the modules. I know you can go there, but I think it's also better to link it here within the yeah, I'll try to do that. I'll try to add a link here as well. So okay. I also do have a lecture video which discusses how to complete the discussions, but of course we're going to go over that right now. So let's go now to the discussions here. Okay. So then let's go now to discussion number 1 here. And I think some students have already started posting here. Okay. Yes, let me also explain really quickly how the discussions work here. Okay. So then do keep in mind that there are 2 due dates for the discussions. The reason why this is done this way is so that there actually is discussing going on instead of just students just waiting until like the last day to just make their posts. And this is a new feature in Blackboard that they didn't have before, so now I'm using it. So yeah, so every discussion is going to have 2 due dates. So the first due date is going to be, it's usually going to be on a Thursday, and then the second due date is going to be on Sunday, okay? So what you'll have to do is for today, you're going to have to make the initial post, and then you're going to have to do the 2 responses by Sunday. So let's go over what that means here. Okay, so let's cover the topic here, right? So the U.S. Constitution is a rather short, generally worded document that can mean different things to different people. And of course, we'll also do the same thing for Texas government as well here. These characteristics make the Constitution flexible because it can be updated through judicial interpretation without needing frequent amendments. However, changing the Constitution through judicial interpretation is undemocratic since it puts power in the hands of unelected judges. What would you rather have? A loose constitution that can be updated by court decisions, or a rigid constitution that relies on popular amendments to keep up with the times? So what this discussion question is asking, and every unit is going to have a specific topic. Like I know for the 3rd unit, it's going to talk about third parties, and then the 4th unit is going to be about like, what do you feel is like the most important, like, domestic political issue or something like that. So that one probably has a little more, we'll probably see different answers for that one. And that one usually tends to be the most interesting one. But yeah, basically this first one it's going to come from chapter 2 because chapter 2 is, of course, is going to be talking about the U.S. Constitution. So once you read through chapter 2, you should be able to adequately answer this question. So basically it's asking, do you agree with the current US constitutional setup in terms of that we don't have a lot of amendments to it, but we do have a lot of judicial decisions. We have a lot of Supreme Court decisions that uh that of course can then create case law. And that is something, of course, that you're also going to learn in this unit, right? As well as also in the next unit when we go over the federal court system, that the concept of judicial review is extremely important within the study of American government because that is a big reason for why we have certain, we have certain legal protections now when it comes to like um Brown versus Board of Education. I think some of y'all have heard of that case before, right? That's usually regarded as one of the most, if not the most famous Supreme Court case of all time. Another more recent case that's also important is Obergefell v. Hodges. Well, let me ask you all this question. Does anyone know what the Brown versus Board of Education case was about? Why is that case so important? Like, why is that constantly, like, if you look at a list of like top 10 Supreme Court decisions of all time, why is Brown versus Board of Education usually at the top of that list? Would anyone like to tell me? Like, does anyone know why that is? Y'all heard of Brown versus Board of Education? Why that case is so important? Let me check the chat, see if anyone has answered here. Nobody's heard of that? Okay, all right. So then, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Uh, you all will learn about that within, or Emma, go ahead. You had your hand raised? Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Emma. Emma, you had your hand raised. You wanted to. you wanted to answer or? Okay, she's typing out. Let's see. Mic not working. Okay, all right. Okay, that's okay. No, that's fine. Okay, that's fine, guys. Don't worry. You all will know about these cases, right? You all will learn about Brown's Board of Education. You're going to learn about American Public Hodges. You're going to learn about all these cases within. Okay, somebody guess. Okay, someone was getting back in. So don't worry. If you all are not familiar with those cases, you all will know them by the 4th of July for sure. And then of course we got this year is the 250th anniversary. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of events going on. I saw that they're building like a UFC ring outside in front of the White House. That's definitely going to be interesting to see. So, but yeah, so let me go back to the share of my screen here. But okay, but just to kind of recap here, basically what it's asking is, um, which of these two formats do you prefer? Do you prefer where that we don't really have a lot of amendments, but we have a lot of Supreme Court cases that will then decide, case law, or should we have more like what Texas has, which is a very rigid constitution with a lot of constitutional amendments? Texas has over 500 constitutional amendments and counting. We'll get to 600 before you know it. So that's basically what it's asking for. So let me also go over here to Texas really quickly. And go over that one also really quickly. And of course, I'll also explain like what I'm looking for. So for the Texas government discussion here, this is asking for you all to describe 3 political cultures discussed in this chapter. And in your opinion, what makes Texas a unique state politically and culturally, right? So basically it's asking for it's asking, for those of you who are in Texas government, this is from chapter 1. So there are 3 major political cultures that are discussed in chapter 1. So it's basically asking for you all to describe those cultures and also talk about which of those cultures do we see in Texas. Because there is a correct answer to that. There is in terms of across the state, for the most part, Texas tends to reflect 2 of the 3 political cultures. And then Austin also has that third one. You could also make an argument that Austin is becoming more like the third one here. So I don't want to give away the answer, but yeah. So what I'm looking for basically is in terms of how to answer these questions. Okay, well, let's go over the requirements. So remember that your initial answer has to have at least 5 sentences and has to have at least 200 words. Okay. Now I am very strict when it comes to looking at those word counts. What I do is that, and I wish that Blackboard had the option to have word counts per Blackboard does have word counts, but they have the average word count. But the average doesn't tell me anything because let's say you wrote 500 words for the initial post, but then you wrote only 50 for the 2 responses. So yeah, that average would be like, over 200 or something like that. But that's not how it's graded, right? Every post is graded on its own. So you have to meet those word count requirements, per post, not per an overall average. So I wish that Blackboard had the ability to show me the word count per post. DTO Brightspace does have that option. And so again, it's good that I've worked at other places because I see like what works and what doesn't work for all these different LMSs. So I keep telling Blackboard like, hey, like, why can't you give me like an individual word count? So maybe they'll do it later. But yeah, so just keep in mind that for the initial post has to be 200 words, 5 sentences, and then you have to respond to 2 of your classmates. Also has to be 5 sentences and also at least 100 words, right? And then what I'm looking for in these posts is I'm looking for detailed examples from the reading. So because again, the whole point of these discussions is I want to see how well you have learned the material for that particular unit, right? And so I guess for now it'd be that, that particular week for that particular unit, right? So I am looking for that. I'm looking to see how well you're able to understand those key concepts and how well you're able to apply those concepts within these structured discussion formats, right? So yeah, so by completing this discussion, you're going to obviously demonstrate that you understand the importance of political culture within Texas and which political cultures we do see primarily in Texas, right? So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for, give me examples from what you read and make sure that you back that up, whatever answer you put. So if we go back to the federal one, this one is a little bit more open-ended, right? This one, it's not really a right or wrong answer, more so like we saw with the Texas government one. This one, you can choose, right? You can choose whether you like the current system where we don't have that many amendments. We only have 27. And if you don't count the Bill of Rights that were added as an agreement for the ratification process of the Constitution in the first place, then we really have only had 17 since the ratification process itself. So we haven't had that many amendments in 250 years. So, is that a good thing? Like, do you like how that is? But instead, we have all these Supreme Court decisions that have basically acted as the role of amending the Constitution. So is that something that you like, or do you prefer what Texas has? Where Texas has a lot of amendments, but then the legislature and the courts are kind of constrained because they are much more limited because there's so many amendments to the state constitution. So again, it's there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's just what you prefer. But of course, you need to back up why you prefer, right? So if you prefer the current system, I want you to explain why. Why do you support a active federal judiciary that then is able to make these rulings and stuff like that? Because some people have said that is the Supreme Court acting as Congress, so to speak, right? That's a criticism that's been levied on that federal system, so to speak. But then another criticism that's levied against the Texas system as well, the Texas legislature can't really do much of anything because they're so constrained by all these amendments to the state constitution. So again, there's pros and cons to both of them, right? So pick which one you would support, but then also explain why you support them, right? And stuff like that. So that's basically what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those examples from the readings, to further back up your arguments. Don't just put like, oh, well, I agree with this, you did a good job. I need more substance in that. I need for you all to, give examples, right? Or if let's say if let's say you disagree with someone, right? Let's say you found a post where they prefer the current judicial interpretation, but you instead prefer like a lot of amendments, like the way Texas does. Well, explain why you disagree with them. Give your reasons as to why you prefer your system and stuff like that. So that's basically what I'm looking for. And of course, we have the first discussion that's going to be due this week. So I will of course grade those, but get them back to you as quickly as possible. So that way you can, see that feedback. I mean, if you do well, then then you got it. You did it correctly, right? But if you don't do as well, I'll of course will leave some good feedback for you all, so that way you can improve on the further discussions. But like I said, if you're able to give those examples, that's what I'm looking for. So give good examples from the readings to back up your argument. And if you do that and you meet the word count requirements, then you should be okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions on the discussions here? Let me stop the share real quickly just to make sure that if there's any questions in the chat or anything like that. Okay, so nobody has any questions on that, guys? Okay, I'll try to wrap this up here as quickly as we can because we're already getting up to 8:30 here. So let me try to wrap this up here as quickly as I can. Okay, let me go back now to the let's see. Some people are typing. Okay, let me just see what they're gonna type here. Let's see. That is an interesting. Okay, they're just saying no. Okay, let me go back here. All right. So then, oh, Priscilla, go ahead. You had a question?
Yes, I seen that you have for extra credit. Will you be letting us know what to write about or what it's
Oh,
for or
okay.
what
Yeah,
kind
I
of
can. I
subject?
can. Yes, I can go over that too really quickly. Are you talking about the documentaries or the study guides?
What you have on the I believe on the syllabus where you put a extra credit or something like that.
Okay, yes. It's because I have several extra credit opportunities because there's a study guide, there's also documentary assignments, there's also going to be the so I do have a lot of different extra credits. There's also going to be the STC evaluations are for extra credit. So I can go over that also. And that won't take too long. Yeah, let me go ahead and do that really quickly. Let me share my screen again here. Angel asks, what materials you need again to complete the discussion? Okay, so obviously, of course, you'll have to read through the chapters. Of course, that is the expectation. But yeah, so once you do read through the chapters, then you should have a good working knowledge of, to be able to also, obviously, of course, study for the quizzes and the exams. And then that's also going to help you for the discussions, right? So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, um, so like I said, if so like I know for the third unit discussion for federal government, the question is, do you support third parties? Okay, so what I'd be looking for in that is to explain like why do third parties not do well in elections? There's obviously, of course, as you're going to read in that chapter, for when it comes to political parties, you're going to read that certain there are certain state laws that favor the two major political parties, the Democrats, Republicans, and they don't give like the Libertarians and the Green Party like they don't give them enough support. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for examples from the readings to demonstrate, how you're answering that specific question, right? Um, and so going back to the first discussion question, like when we were talking about like, um, do you prefer the current system of how our U.S. Constitution is set up, or do you prefer like the way Texas does it, where there's all these amendments? So, talk a little bit about like what the current system is and how it's set up, and then discuss how like what are the pros and cons to that setup. Kind of like what I was talking about before, right? That yes, if we have a very active judiciary, that does allow for there to be a lot of different decisions. But what happens if these decisions might kind of overstep boundaries that are supposed to be left up to the legislative branch or the executive branch? Because again, one of the important concepts that you're going to learn about in chapter 2 is the separation of powers and the checks and balances, right? So does the Supreme Court, does that fall in line with the checks and balances, or maybe does it kind of go a little bit beyond that? Because if it goes beyond that, then people might not like that, right? Let me give you another historical example. So back in the 1930s, FDR was very interested in engaging in what we call court packing, where he was going to add more Supreme Court justices because the Supreme Court was nullifying a lot of his New Deal policies as being unconstitutional. I don't know if that does that sound familiar for those of y'all who have taken U.S. History Part 2. Like you all remember about the New Deal, right? So that's an example of how FDR was trying to kind of sidestep the checks and balances, so to speak, right? He was trying to stack the court, and he was heavily criticized for that because it was clearly being done for political reasons, right? It was being done not for some sort of like you could make an argument today that maybe the Supreme Court should be expanded based on the number of circuit courts that we have. That's a very that's a very that's a very logistical, a very straightforward argument, right? Just make it to where each circuit court would have like their own Supreme Court justice, right? There's nothing political about that, right? That's just a very practical logistical matter. But what FDR was doing is that he was clearly upset, and because if you go back to some of his speeches, he's constantly he was criticizing the Supreme Court. Like I've never seen a president before or since actually like criticize the Supreme Court like that. Like that's very odd, and not really all that common. Of course, I understand why he did it. He obviously had his reasons for that, but it's still not something that's usually accepted within like the traditions of American government. So anyway, but the point I'm trying to make is that he was trying to basically kind of overstep his, overstep, overstep the checks and balances a bit. So that kind of goes back to this first discussion question, right? If you have an active judiciary, does that still fall in line with the checks and balances, or does that kind of go beyond it a little bit too much? Again, I don't have the answer to that. It's not even a right or wrong answer, right? It's just people's different political opinions. So you don't have to be a political scientist to have a political opinion. Lots of people have political opinions and they don't have a lot of background knowledge on politics, right? Now, of course, here this is an academic setting, so obviously, of course, I expect for you all to back up what it is that you're saying with those, you know, those what you get from the reading, right? Those facts and those events and those historical things and stuff like that. So I expect for you all to be able to back that up. But yes, it's going to be up to you all in terms of how you want to answer those questions, right? But yeah, does that kind of answer your question, Angel, in terms of like, I know I just gave like this 10-minute answer, so I do apologize for that, but I just wanted to just kind of give you some examples in terms of like how like what I'm looking for in terms of how to answer these questions here. And again, and that's why I also have a lot of these resources, right? Because those resources are also going to be meant to help y'all. Like the crash course videos, I would say those are probably be the most important ones of the resources. Let me kind of share my screen here again. Um, so if we click out of the discussions here, yeah, if we go back to the if we go back over here, like I said, if I do recommend for y'all to watch the lecture videos, but I know those can be a little bit lengthy. But yeah, for sure, like the crash course videos, those are pretty good. So those get to the point pretty good. Like I said, I do have lecture videos. I also have the audiobook here. So this is also good. Let me share with you all a little bit of, and again, I know everybody's different, but I'm really big into audiobooks now. Thanks to Dr. Thompson because of all the reading he assigned me in this World War II class. I need to share you all like a picture of the books. Like the books were like so thick, they were so big. That the history of World War II book, that's the longest book I've ever read in my life. Um, it's even longer than the Bible, I think. But technically, well, I guess some people might say I didn't read it because I was listening to it on audiobook. But that's the only way I would have finished all that reading because what I like to do is I like to read audiobooks like when I go to the park to go exercise. So just a quick interesting fact about me. I've lost 80 pounds. Like I used to be 315, now I'm down to 235, so and I'm still trying to lose even more weight. So what I do is I'm there at the park for like 2 hours doing my walking. And so what I like to do is I like to listen to like audiobooks while I'm exercising. So that's what I was doing like for this past year. Like I was listening to like all those World War II books I needed to read. And then I've got more books that I need to read this summer. So, so tonight when I go to the park, I'm going to be doing more reading. So yeah, that might be something that you might be interested in. Instead of reading the textbook like through the PDF, you could also listen to it through audiobook as well. And also you can listen to the lecture videos also. You can just listen to them also if you want to. So just want to give you all some tidbits here. Okay, now for the exam here, again, it's going to be 120 minutes. It's going to be 50 questions. Multiple choice 3 points each for a total of 150. So yeah, 2 hours should be good enough here. Now let me explain to y'all, it says proctored here, right? So let me explain to y'all what this is here. Okay, so let me go to, okay, this is another very important point. So one of the first important points I mentioned is you don't have to click on everything. Let me share with you all another very important point about the tests. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm sorry, let me stop sharing so I can get to the other option here and then I'll share again here. Hold on. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. Bear with me. We're almost done. Okay, I'm going to show you all what the honor lock system is about here. Okay. Okay, so you all should be seeing where it says honor lock here. Okay, so basically what honor lock is, it's a test monitoring software program. What we mean by this is that, well, it's a proctoring program, right? It's a test proctor program where STC has made it mandatory because it is mentioned in the syllabus that every test that is given online has to be proctored through HonorLock. So the way HonorLock works is that it is a system that monitors students taking exams to make sure that students are not cheating on those exams, right? Now I do have the discretion when it comes to how like the options that I have in honor lock. So let me share. Let me go ahead and go over that really quickly. So if we go to the honor lock enabled assessments, it's just the 4 exams here. So let me now, oh, there's 4 people that have already taken it. Okay, so let me show you all the let me show you all the settings here really quickly so that y'all can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so these are settings that are set by STC. This is the default, right? So what HonorLock is going to do is it's going to, remember how I said that you need a web camera for this class for the test? This is where you're going to need it for, because what it's going to do is it's going to record you as you're taking the test, right? So it's going to record the screen, it's going to record you, it's going to record the websites you go to, it's also going to take the picture, it's also going to do a room scan. You also need to have a picture ID. So this is probably what I would say is the most important reason for why we have HonorLock. Because what HonorLock determines is that it determines that the person that's taking the test is actually the person that is registered in the class. Because I don't know if y'all have heard about this, but before like HonorLock and all of these testing software programs, like maybe like 10 years ago, I actually heard of stories where people were actually paying people to take classes for them, like for online classes, right? Like you would pay someone to do an online class for you, and then and then the professor would have no way of knowing whether that person is like the person the professor would have no way of knowing if the person on the Blackboard class list was actually the person that was logging in and doing the exams. There was no way to verify that. But now with HonorLock and other testing software systems, now we can do that. So that's why you do need to have a photo ID with you when you take the test, because the HonorLock system is going to make sure that the person that is registered for that class is actually the one who is actually completing the class and is actually doing the test here. So these are the option. These are the requirements here. Now this I can change. So this one is really important. Look at these first two. Do y'all see what it says here? So this is really important to remember. And of course, I'm going to post an announcement on this specifically as well. So the tests are open book, open notes. Okay. This is very important. Okay. So you can use your book, you can use your notes. And I'm also pretty generous when it comes to like, can you go and go to the restroom if you need to? Mobile phone is also important, especially for the Texas government classes. Well, I guess for federal also, right? Because both of them are ebooks, right? So if you want to access the ebook on your phone, you're able to do so. What I would recommend for y'all to do in that case is, and this is just a recommendation, that what I would recommend for y'all to do is like to show your phone like to the honor lock system, just so that the honor lock can see that you're using your phone for the test, like that what is on your phone is the ebook. I would recommend to do that just to make sure that there's no issues. I don't think there would be any issues, but just do that just to make sure that. If I could also share another personal story that that's something that I learned to do when I was working in security, uh, where whenever we would have to check in stuff for the lost and found, because security is responsible for lost and found. What I would do is when the procedure would be like whenever the custodians would like the custodians would always find everything. They would find like jackets and stuff like that, so they would turn them into us. And then what we would do is we had like a little drawer for where the lost and found was, and then we also had a video camera pointed right at that that drawer, because we wanted to make sure that no one was stealing from the lost and found, right? So what I would do is I would hold up the item like right as close as I could to the camera, so that way the camera could get a good look at it in terms of what it is. And then I would put it in the drawer. So that way no one could accuse me of stealing anything. Like a lot of people don't realize that cameras are not just there to catch people, they're also there to help you. Like if you get accused of something, video cameras can also exonerate you. So that's kind of a similar concept when it comes to showing the mobile phone, just to make sure that what you're using is, that you are using it for an ebook, and then you're not like cheating or anything like that. So, but yeah, so these are the options that you have, right? So you could also public area. Also, if you need to go like to the library, you can do that as well. Background noise, because again, there's going to be noise in a larger, community center like that. So yeah, so I do allow like open book, open note, as well as the option to use your phones and all that stuff. So, okay, but yeah, so I'm sorry. Honor lock should not flag you for using your notes because I set these options. So if anything does happen to where honor lock does flag it, then just let me know and we'll get that taken care of, okay? Because it shouldn't be doing that, because I have set these options to where you can use your book, you can use your notes for the exam. So let me stop the share really quickly. So I just want to make sure. Does anyone have any other questions on that here? Okay, I know like there's a lot of people already leaving because they got other things to do. So I do understand that. Okay, but does anyone have any questions on that? So we're almost done here, guys. Anybody have any questions on honor lock in terms of how the tests work? Okay, nobody has any questions. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's finish up here. I don't think we have too much more to go here. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, we're almost done here. Let me just show you all really quickly a couple more things, and then we'll be done here. Okay. So okay, so if we go through, okay, let's talk about this is probably the last major, really important thing we do need to talk about, and we will. If you want, guys, we can do another class meeting where we go over specifically this, because this is extremely important. This is going to be the most important assignment in our class. This is the signature assignment final project here. Yeah, I would like for us to have another meeting, probably next week. Maybe we could do it next Thursday. where we can go over the document here. Let me see. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's just all these all my notes are popping up from World War II. Hold on, and all this other stuff. Give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, guys, here. So y'all are able to see this, right? You're all able to see and again, for government 2306, it's going to be similar, right? So, we're not going to spend too much time here today on this because I do want to do like a separate meeting on this. But basically, what this is talking about here is that to just kind of summarize what the final project is basically you're going to be writing a mock letter. And what I mean by mock letter is that you don't actually have to send it to this elected official. You can if you want to, but please don't say that I made you do that because that's that that I don't want to get in trouble with that. This is just you acting as your own private citizen. But what the point is that this is supposed to simulate your First Amendment right to petition your government. The redress of grievances is listed in our First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Basically, what you're going to be doing for Government 2305, you're going to be writing a mock letter to a sitting member of Congress that represents Texas. And basically, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be researching a federal issue, and you're going to write a mock letter where you talk about that issue and you come up with a solution to that issue. Okay. And then Texas government is the same thing. The only difference is that instead of a sitting member of Congress, you're going to be writing to a state or local official. So for like Government 2305, this would be like Senator Ted Cruz, outgoing Senator John Cornyn because he just lost the primary election. So we will have a new senator from Texas this, after the November election, whether it's either James Tallarico or Ken Paxton. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so it would be so you could still write to Cornyn because he's still in the Senate for a few more months, or it could be any of the members of the House, such as Vicente Gonzalez, Monica de la Cruz, or Henry Cuellar. So those also are the House members that represent the Valley here, or any other House member that's represents Texas. That's for Governor 2305. For 2306, this would be like Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and or maybe state reps or state senators like Juan Chuy Hinojosa. I know Bobby Guerra here, but he's retiring, so we're gonna have a new one. We're gonna have a new representative for District 41. Terry Canales, Oscar Longoria, those are some names. Or it could be like Richard Cortez, the county judge. Or depending, where you live, the mayor of your city. Like Mr. Villalobos, for a city of McAllen. But again, depending on where you live, that would determine, which of these state or local elected officials you would. The only thing is that they do have to be elected officials, right? So this would be for Texas government. But yeah, like I said, we will take more time to cover that next week. Because next week what we'll do is we'll go over this whole thing. Like we'll go over all of this. Let me ask you all this question: would that be something that you all would be interested in doing? Would you all want to meet next week? What if we can't attend next? Okay, well, I'm just suggesting Thursday. I mean, what day would be better for you all? Would you all want to do Friday or because I want it to be later in the week because I do have I have to go get my passport probably early next week. Uh Off work for this. Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I want to see like because I would prefer it to be later in the week, either Thursday or Friday. But people might not want to meet on a Friday because maybe they want to go do stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to record this meeting anyway for those of y'all who want to access it later. And I can also and also remember, Trina, that of course I also have office hours too. And if the office hours that I have, which are Monday through Thursday in the afternoon, if that doesn't work for you, I can also set up an appointment too. So don't feel like that's the only time I can meet with you. I'm also free for the whole summer because again, since I'm not teaching in person, I've got a lot of free time. But I do have a couple things that I have to take care of early next week. Like I said, I got to do my passport and all that stuff. Uh, yes, Angel, for Texas government, the ebook is on Mindset. Yes, that's correct. But yeah, so again, I guess or what about when no, not Wednesday because I have another Yeah, no, not Wednesday because I have another thing I have to do that day. Um, so what do y'all think? I mean, Thursday or Friday? I know there's not that many people here left, but would y'all be okay with meeting on a Friday or I don't want to like get people like to like if they want to go out or something like that. And I don't think that meeting won't be as long as this one. I can assure you all that one because it's just going to be that. It's just going to be us going over the signature assignment final project discussion here. That probably I don't even think that would take an hour. So I think that meeting won't be anywhere near as lengthy here. So but okay, that's fine. We can set up. I guess we can set up Friday so that way. Yeah, we could do it on Friday. That's not a problem here. Okay, and then let's see. So yeah, we'll do that for next Friday. And then last thing also here, because I do want to do that next week because we do have the rough draft that's going to be coming up due a week from this Sunday here. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. And then so last couple of things here that I do want to go over again. This you all found this is the link for the Microsoft Teams to go to the virtual office hours. I do recommend to email me first just to let me know. I mean, of course, I am going to be available, but just to let me know if you are going to stop by here. The study guides, of course, these are the extra credits that we talked about here. The way that the study guides work for extra credit is that if you complete the study guides and if you're able to, pretty much do them relatively correctly, like you don't miss too many, then you can get 10 points added to the exam, right? So like for the exam one study guide, if you do the study guide and you submit it here, and if it's done relatively correctly, then you can get 10 points added to your test here. I do have other extra credit assignments. I have some interesting documentaries here. Most of these are from Frontline. That's the PBS documentary series that they have. The first one here is from National Geographic. That's Inside 9/11. That's a very good documentary. It goes over like the planning of 9/11 in terms of Osama bin Laden and his Al Qaeda operatives. I actually watched this documentary in my terrorism criminal justice graduate class. Uh, what I like to consider the second part of that documentary is this one down here. It's the Bin Laden Shoot to Kill one. I also saw that one in my criminal justice graduate class, and this goes over the SEAL Team 6 mission into Pakistan to go get Bin Laden back in 2011. So that's another one. But yeah, I have other ones. I have several ones from the last presidential elections. I've got a couple other ones dealing with the Trump administration. There's also some good foreign policy ones, like what's going on in the Middle East with Iran and Israel. There's also this is another good one, 20 days in Mariupol. This one's dealing with the Ukraine war. I don't know if you all saw that. I think it was yesterday that Ukraine launched some drone strikes at St. Petersburg in Russia. So this one's also really good. It was Academy Award winner. And of course, there's also a couple of documentaries on World War II because I just can't help myself and I just really like that topic. So, but again, there's some other ones, and I do need to add and I'll be adding a few more, and I do need to add the assignment tab for some of these because, like I said, during the summers when I get to add during the summers when I get to um is when I get to fine tune my classes here. Again, the student evaluations, we'll go over that. That'll be more so for the end of the semester. And that's pretty much it in terms of the layout. Was there anything else we needed to go over in the syllabus here? Actually, yes, we did need to go over the grade weights, right? So again, the four exams are there's four exams, so that's 10% 10% per exam, so 40%. 20% is going to be for the discussions like we talked about, 20% is going to be for the quizzes, and then 20% is for the signature assignment final project here. Let's see, is there anything else we need to go over? I mean, again, this is just, stuff yeah, this is just the grade grubbing. Yeah, read that. That's a that is something that does tend to happen from time to time where students are like, "Sir, but I deserve an A in your class. Like, I need an A." Like, well, then go earn it. You know what I mean? It's but again, just make sure, guys, that like this again, just do your best and I'll do what I can to help you out. Okay, and then the topic outline again, this is just note again that we cover a chapter per week. I'm sorry, no, a unit per week, my bad. And that's pretty much it. That's not really much else here. Just keep in mind on these important dates, like for the census day and the last day to drop and stuff like that. So I mean, we do have Juneteenth off, but again, we're off on Fridays anyway. So whoever's teaching in person this year kind of got they kind of got screwed a little bit because they don't have that day off in for Juneteenth because they don't work on Fridays anyway. So Same thing with the 4th of July also. So yeah, that's why I'm not really a fan of teaching in person in the summer here. Okay, let me stop the share here. Okay. Okay, let's see. Does the course key pay for the book? No, you do have to purchase it yourself, Angel. Like you do have to purchase the book. It's not free, unfortunately. That one's not a not an OER. The Texas government, no. Unfortunately, that's not an OER. Sorry about that. Okay, all right, guys. That's pretty much it that I wanted to cover. Like, so for those of y'all who stayed till the end, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Does anyone else have anything else that we need to finish before we leave for today? Yeah, we took almost 2 hours here, guys. I'm very sorry about that. It's just, but it was a lot of information that we covered. So does this make more sense in terms of like how the class works and where to find everything? And like, do y'all feel like better in terms of like not feeling confused about the class now? I'm not saying that you all were confused, but I know that this is like again, a lot of students really like these meetings. And I don't have to do these meetings. In fact, I don't even know if many professors at STC even do these. I know some do. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm the only one. I know that some do, but I know that most of them don't. So, but this is something that I find really, really helpful because I also teach. So I teach these online asynchronous classes where we don't have class meetings, but I've also in the past taught the online classes where we do have class meetings, like where we would have class every Tuesday or Thursday or Monday and Wednesday, and we go over the material. Like, yeah, I have taught online classes like that. And so I've noticed that I've taken a lot of that from those classes and I've incorporated it here into these online asynchronous classes. So I do know that students do like these types of meetings and they are very helpful. So yeah, next week we'll do another one for the final project. We will make sure to do that. In the first unit discussion, it is asking about the first chapter. Okay, yeah, so your text discovery, right? The way that the unit discussions work is the question obviously is going to come from one of those 3 chapters, right? So that question in terms of the political culture, that's from chapter 1. So you can find the answer to that discussion question in chapter 1 because it's basically going to ask for the 3 major political cultures of Texas. That's what it's looking for. Okay. And then for federal government for 2305, that question is going to come from chapter 2. So just keep that in mind. Okay, all right. So does anyone else have anything else to add or anything to ask before we end for today, guys? Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Let's see. Trina is text or messaging here. Okay, nope. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. Okay. Well, I guess we can go to an end here for today, guys. Like I said, I will upload this meeting for anyone who had to leave early and anyone who wasn't able to attend, so that way you can go back and review it. Please let me know if you all have any questions. As you all have seen, I have responded very quickly because I am basically on my computer all day because I'm doing stuff in this class. I'm setting up stuff. I'm also studying for my other class. Where am I? Okay, that's a good question. I guess I can post an announcement and I can link it there. I think that would work. Yeah, I could probably just do that. I'll just link it in an announcement. And and then yeah, I'll just do that. And then let's see. I don't think there's anything else I need to cover, but yeah, so just if you have any further questions, uh you can contact me. Please make sure that you follow the Blackboard procedure that we talked about. And I explained why that procedure is important, and then we should be okay. But yeah, I do have the office hours, but like I said, if those office hours don't work for y'all, we can set up an appointment. I also do have a couple of trainings throughout the STC summer. Oh, by the way, did anyone get to go to that training that I posted for the library? I actually went to it today. It was actually really interesting. Yeah, the goal. I posted an announcement on those sessions. You all can go to them. I think they have the same ones in summer too, also. So, but yeah, they're very helpful. Like even I learned some things that I didn't know about. Like since I'm also studying in grad school, like I mean, I know I'm already a professor, but I'm still going. Like I'm still studying more stuff. Okay. Oh, so you went to them. Okay, perfect. So you know how they are. Yeah, that's good. That they were actually very helpful. Like I didn't know about uh the Pomodoro system. I had never heard of that before. And I was like, wow, that's because sometimes I do like get really distracted. Like I do have ADHD and I do get distracted when it comes to like studying, and so it's good to make the studying more like structured and stuff. Yeah, they are very helpful. Yes, yes. I'm so glad that because I learned about them because somebody from the library emailed me personally, and they asked me to invite you all. Uh so I was like, wow, like I felt very honored that they reached out to me. So I wanted to go to them as well. And so yeah, so I really enjoy them, and I'll go to the other ones as well here. So but yeah, if any of y'all are interested in going, they are very helpful, as Emma is saying. So yes, definitely they help, like with like today's topic was about study habits. I think research is going to be for next week, and there's all types of really good stuff. So definitely do attend those. That's something that um you know I think college success maybe teaches about that, but I know that's something that I think students do need to, like the institution does need to do a good job of educating students about how to study, what are good study habits, because at the end of the day, I mean, we can present all this information, but it's not enough just to present it to y'all. You all also have to learn it and be able to, study it and remember it and be able to and show that you all know this information. So it is important that STC teaches you all those really good strategies and stuff like that. So I'm glad that some of y'all have gone to those, and so I'll continue to go to those as well. So not just to make me a better professor, but also to make me a better student as well here. So okay, all right, guys. All right, so I guess yeah, because I'm already tired talking here. So okay, everyone, I guess we'll go to an end for today. If there's no other questions, guys, y'all take care, be safe. I will, like I said, I'm going to post the recording and the announcement, and then yeah, we can meet on Friday. I'll also post an announcement that we'll have the meeting on Friday to go over the final project, and also give you all some good tips, some good advice in terms of what I'm looking for. So again, I'm here to help you all, for y'all to do well in this class. As I posted in the first announcement on the very first day on Monday, it feels like forever ago, that I've never had a student fail this class if they did all their work and if they tried their best and they study. The only students that have failed my class are students that do not do their work. Like they don't do the final project. I mean, if you don't do the final project, that's 20% of your grade. That's going to knock you down 2 letter grades. So if you do your best, if you do your due diligence, you study, you work on everything that needs to be worked on, then I can assure you that you're gonna at least pass this class, and you'll probably do even better than passing. So please don't freak out, don't worry, especially because it's a summer class. I understand it's very compact. Um, and I'm sure some of y'all are also taking other classes as well, right? So I also am respectful that if you're taking like math or science, like that's obviously a lot harder than this. This information is not hard. It is not hard. As long as you read the information, and you're able to study it, then you should be okay. And that's why I've given you all a ton of resources to also help you all, because since this is an online class, we don't have those regular meetings. So I definitely want to help you all as best as possible with all those resources that I have for y'all. So okay, guys. All right. So I guess we'll go to an end here for today. Thank you all so much. Y'all take care, be safe, and we'll see y'all next week, guys. Okay. So have a good weekend, and take care, and good luck to you all. Welcome to our class, and please reach out to me if you all have any questions. Okay, everyone. Thank you all so much. You all be safe. Take care.